G'day guys. Rust like this can be great if you're planning a wrap build, but if you're looking for a more shinier bike, you want to get rid of that stuff because it can be your worst enemy. On these fork supports, that's exactly what we're going to do today. So what I'm planning on doing with them is showing you guys some different ways we can remove some surface rust from different chrome parts. So we're going to try out acid bathing, we're going to try out some tin foil and coke mixture, which is a bit of a cheaper, easier option. And we'll see what the different types are. I might just try and polish one of the areas with some good old elbow grease and see what the differences are using those different methods and going through how we do all of them. So let's see what we can do with these fork supports. All right, so these are the three different methods we're going to be using today. First up, we've got citric acid. You can get that from the cooking aisle, the baking aisle in your local supermarket usually. I'll put about 1 tin, that's at 75 grams, in with about a bucket of warm water, leave it 5 to 6 hours, and then you need to wipe it down afterwards. We'll go through that. I've done all whole bikes, wheels, sissy bars, handlebars, anything you can think of. I fill up my bathtub and put 4 or 5 tins in and just let it sit for a while. For a lot of parts, any chrome part you can think of, I've probably citric acid bathed it. If you can take all your stuff apart, that's probably the best way to go. Got the old-fashioned chrome polish in the middle with a rag. We're going to go a bit of elbow grease on that one, try and just polish that rust off. And then on the right-hand side, we've got a bit of tin foil, a little bit of coke, and paper towel to wipe it off afterwards. The tin foil reacts with the rust in the metal, and something in the coke really brings it out as well. So the tin foil acts as a bit of a sandpaper. You don't get the best finish, but it's good for hard to reach parts if you don't want to take the whole bike apart and things like that. So I'm going to show you the different results with each of the method and different parts of these forks, and we can compare later. Alright, so I've split the forks into 3 different sections. We're going to acid bath this part, we're going to do coke on this arm, and we're going to have a go at the polish on this one. So, I'm going to give a good coat of polish. Just got a good rag here that I'll try and cut it back off with. Let's see how we go. So, we've had about 10 minutes on the polish here. Still a little bit of pitting coming through. It's removed most of that orangey, browny red tone that you get from the rust. There's a nice shine on it, but it's definitely not up to the standard that I'd want for this part. So, we're gonna have a go at our next technique, which is the Coca-Cola and alfoil on this side. Let's have a go at this coke and alfoil method. Got a square of alfoil that I've folded down maybe 3 times to just make it a bit more rigid, a bit more stable. What you're going to do is take that and dip it into your coke to get a nice little bit of coke on there. And then simply, just like sandpaper, you can rub back the areas that you're working on. It does create a little black kind of filmy liquid. It's part of the reaction from the aluminium foil and the chrome. So we'll wipe that off with the paper towel in a second. Give us our nice finish. As you can see here, the alfoil starts to crack up a bit when it hits some pitting. So you go through a little bit of alfoil doing this, especially if you're doing a big piece that had some surface pitting, but it does give some fairly good results. Like I said, this acts like a bit of a sandpaper on those harder bits. So I'm just wiping away the last of that residue from the coke side. It's come up really, really well. It's taken away a lot of that pitting. It's not perfect, but it's probably as best as we can get with what was going on with that chrome. I haven't even had a polish of this side yet, and it's already looking fantastically shiny, and it's definitely picked up a lot more than what's been picked up on that polished side. Next, probably the most affected area is the top part of these forks and boards, and that's what I'm going to dump in the citric acid. So I'm going to get that stuff ready and get it going. Okay, so I've gone and got 7 litres of hot water. Hot water is better because it makes the chemical reaction work a little bit faster, which is good, but if you've got big stuff and you only put cold water, that's fine. I've got my citric acid powder here. Just gonna pour that straight in. It is also good if you're filling up the bath, you can put it in at the same time because that will mix it up in there a bit. This one's been sitting around for a while. I've gone through a fair bit of this stuff on my time. And I'm just going to stir it up with the forks to blend it in there. And it's that simple. I'm just going to leave that for about 4 to 5 hours and see what happens when we come back to it. I've just wiped down quickly with paper towel that top half compared to that bottom half, and that's how easily it draws the rust out of the chrome there. Also, it's important to mention with the citric acid stuff, if you run it off with some clean cold water for a while, that'll help lift that extra little remnants of the acid off, all the rust, so it doesn't re-oxidize. So once I've done that, what I usually do is give it a good polish to seal it up. Alright, so we've finished off for today. We've got our polish, which came out nice and shiny. Didn't really tackle the rust though. On our coke and alfoil side, that's really good at taking off those extra pitted bits of rust there and kind of trying to smooth them out. Still a little bit of a rough finish. You can see some little marks left by the alfoil, not too bad. And then we've got our acid bath part, which has got deep into the pitted parts and into these corners here, so that's why I left that for that. I think our citric acid is really good if you can take all your parts off, dunk it in the water, leave them in there for a while. If you're doing like a full kind of rebuild or a resto kind of thing, I think that's best. If you don't want to take the bike apart and you've just got one part that's stuck there that you want to get into, I think your alfoil and coke methods is the best there. If you have any other tips of how to remove surface rust and things like that, let me know. I might try them out in one of my future videos, but hopefully the stuff that I've shown you today will be able to get you some cheaper parts, restoring some parts that off cheap bikes off Facebook Marketplace, hard rubbish, tip bikes, that kind of thing, to keep your build costs down, and you can start experimenting with a little bit more stuff. Take it easy, guys.
Peace.